It's all about the Macro Productions.
What does the goddamn line say, Tony?
Please do not use gendered language.
Then what? I'll be arrested, put in airport jail?
Look, you're going completely sideways, man.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
How dare you?
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
I'm Chris Hansen with Dave on NBC.
Jack Marius Tack Theratrix.
Hi, I'm Spartacus.
Jackson, Sacramento, he, him. Steven Seagal.
Sex offender guard.
I'm Keith Morris.
This is Muammar Gaddafi.
I'm Rick James, bitch.
Sorting through the lies.
The hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
We cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
And uncovering the centuries-long plan for world domination.
Learning about Cuba, having some food.
Let's talk about Chinese people.
Have you ever been in a Turkish prison? Swangles in Fort Lauderdale?
I have sent 6 of my Libyan missiles to blow up the Sears hardware department.
Nothing could be more fun than jumping off a cliff with 2 German bisexuals.
Oh, you English are so superior, aren't you?
Thank you, comrade.
And now, Macroaggressions.
That's what assholes call it.
With your host,
Buddy, I don't know who you are, but you're about to get chlamydia.
Charlie Robinson.
Hey, Whitey, where's your hat?
You want to drop the blame on Charlie and say it's all Charlie's fault.
He was a retard.
I get some goddamn diuretic.
Welcome to Macroaggressions. I'm your host, Charlie Robinson. If you're watching us on Rockfin or Rumble, or you're listening wherever podcasts are served, thanks a million. We appreciate the support. If you haven't rated the show, take a second and do that. If you think we've earned 5 stars, we'd appreciate it. We'll fight that algorithm battle best we can. We appreciate it. If you want to connect with me, macroaggressions.io is the website. You can do that. You can find all the social media accounts and books and all that good stuff. Everything that I mentioned is in the show notes as well, all those links. So if you're listening to this while you're running around, don't worry about writing anything down. You can just pull up the episode and click the links to find out information about everything, including our sponsors that make this show happen, EMP Shield. I'll tell you what, I hope you don't need it, but if you need it, they got it for you. It's a device that will install onto your car, onto your home, your generator. If you got a boat or a motorhome, it'll install to that. Like a Type 2 surge protector, you can install it yourself with just, in 15 minutes. You can watch plenty of videos on how to do it, or you can have an electrician come out and do it for you. It'll protect you against lightning. It'll protect you against solar flares. It'll protect you against EMPs. Good Lord, man. Look, I'm not trying to fearmonger anyone. I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully nothing. But you don't want to be like back to the Flintstones pushing your car around. You know what I mean? So if you have one of these devices installed, you might be better off than somebody else. I'll tell you what, best thing to do, don't listen to me. Go to their website, go to empshield.com and read up about it, watch the videos, see what you think. If it's right for you, pull the trigger and use the promo code MACRO to save some money. And also, there's bundle packages too that I think bring the cost per unit down considerably. So go ahead and check it out, empshield.com. And also, since we're talking about shielding devices, how about Legal Shield? They've been in business for 50 years in the United States and Canada. This is the best deal out there. I will tell you, they haven't changed their prices. It's $29.99 a month. It'll get you access to an attorney in your area for a very reasonable amount. You can, and not just any ding-dong attorney off the streets. They, on average, 22 years of experience. They know what they're doing. They have a long relationship with Legal Shield. It's real easy to get in touch with them too. When you become a member, you'll get an app on your phone and you just pull it up, click a couple drop-down menu check boxes like, hey, what do you need? I need a will and testament, a medical power of attorney, financial power of attorney, whatever. I need these documents. Tick, 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 submit. You'll get a call from an attorney within 24 hours saying, hey, this is the guy down the street at this law firm. Love to have you come in. We can knock all this out. No problem. So I think if you're somebody that is interested in, if you don't have a last will and testament, you've got to have one. God, after what I've been through, I'll tell you, when you get to the end of life situations and the last thing you want to be thinking about is paperwork. Get this stuff wrapped up now. Be proactive instead of reactive. And you don't want to spend $2,000 on an attorney to draft your will that you're never going to even use because you'll be dead, right? So if you want to get it done, for a reasonable price by somebody professional, I'd go to Legal Shield, knock it out in the first week. You'll pay itself off for the next 3 years. But don't, I'll tell you what, best thing to do, read up about it, go to the website they built specifically for the show, www.don'tgetpushedaround.com. Find out everything you need to know about the small business package. If you're somebody that carries a gun, they have information about that too. If you're going to trial for some reason, you can prepay trial hours. There's all kinds of things on there. There's a lot happening there. Don'tgetpushedaround.com is the place to go to check that out. Well, business is out of the way. I'm happy to reconnect with a Macroaggressions OG. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Jean. What's up, baby? Good to see you again. How are you?
Charlie, it is so good to see you and hear you, brother. Let me just say, I miss you, man.
I miss you too. My first guest on Macroaggressions was Kev Baker, of course. And this year at Anarchapulco, I had the honor of hosting and emceeing the event. And as a tribute to Kev, I took his logo. I stole his logo. I hope he doesn't mind. I stole his logo and I had one of my artist friends make it nice and clean, and I put it on a shirt in my merch store, and I only printed one of them up. I don't think anyone ever bought it. I printed one of them up so I could wear the Kev Baker Show logo as my shirt for Anarchapulco. I wore it for the first part of the show, and then I had to change into my David Icke shirt for when I was interviewing David Icke. But Kev would understand. If anyone would understand, he would, right?
That's for sure. No, I saw that too, Charlie. That was really, really, really cool.
And I miss that guy, man. What would he have thought about all this shit going on right now?
I think about that quite a bit, especially around the AI subject matter. And, he really sort of liked Elon Musk when it wasn't vogue. He took a lot of heat for, kind of liking Elon. And so it'd be interesting to see what he'd think about what's going on now. I think about him every single day at 2 p.m. Pacific. Yeah,
I do too. Did I tell you the last time, I was trying to reach out to him before he passed away. Mm-hmm. I was walking through this mall by my house, and there's this. I walked by this store. It's like a women's clothing store, mm-hmm. and the name of the store is just a capital letter. It's just the letter Q, right? And so I took a picture of it and I texted it to him, and I said, "Hey man, I'm at the store. Do you need anything?" And I was so proud of myself because I knew it was gonna crush him. I knew he was gonna just bust up laughing. And what I didn't realize is that he was in the hospital at that time. Yeah. And I didn't. He never got the message. And that really that sort of drove that point home for me, was that he was never gonna laugh at one of my stupid jokes again. He was never going to send me an email out of the blue saying, "Oh my God, take a look at this ridiculous article." You know what I mean? That I just get excited to wake up to,
You just can't hear him laughing at your jokes, dude. At some point you will hear him laughing at those jokes again, but if he's laughing, believe me, everybody's laughing. He was a beautiful person, man. He did, I spent a lot of time with Kev Baker.
Yeah.
He always, even though he wasn't feeling good and he was sick and stuff, man, he would show up or whatever, and he would make sure, like he was doing, he just started his show on Aftermath. And he was adamant about, doing that show, the show that he did, the last show there. Yeah. And he was adamant about it, even though he wasn't feeling good. So, I love Kev Baker, and, part of me died when he passed away, man. I've been on the air. I mean, you and I have been doing this, for a long time, man. I mean, there's thousands of hours of discussions and conversations and suppositions and stuff that we've said on this air.
Yeah.
But he always brought out the best in me. And so whenever I was on a show with him, he would always bring out the best in me. He would spark something in my imagination, or he would say something in a certain way, and we vibe like that. And that's when, you know, when you and he met on the show, I was up in Colorado at the time. I was up in Glenwood Springs. I think you were going to come up there at some point.
Yeah.
You were going to come up and visit, but I ended up getting out of there. But no, we used to do shows. I used to do shows right before I was about to go in the hot springs, man. I'd sit there on my phone with you guys hanging out, you know, ripping and shredding on stuff. And you know what I mean?
The Woo Crew, you guys on Fridays, man. That was the hang session. You know what I mean? The Wookiees.
It was.
You guys are talking about all kinds of crazy shit. I remember how excited he was to book that interview with Jordy Rose from D-Wave. And he was like, dude, I'm going to ask him this and I'm going to ask him this. And I was as, you know, I was living vicariously through him. I was stoked that he was going to talk to the guy too. Like, tell him, what is he talking about? Dragging information back from parallel dimensions. Like, get this guy to tell you what the fuck he's talking about here, man. Are they talking to aliens? Are they talking to interdimensional beings? Are they talking to something that's beyond, like, what, you know?
You know what's really funny, man, is that there was this Jordy Rose presentation, and in the back they had a slide, and it was the slide of the Kev Baker show, and he was making a presentation, and it was a slide of the Kev Baker show, and he was saying there's people on the internet with Kev Baker behind him on this big screen. There's people on the internet who think we're causing a Mandela effect. Yeah. Okay. And so
the guy behind you in the screen is one of them.
Right. So he's putting Kev Baker up there. And then, and this was when Kev was, you know, loosely associated with Anthony Patch. Like Anthony Patch was doing a show. Kev was producing the show for Anthony Patch. He was kind of sidekicking. And Anthony Patch was kind of around the show anyway, in general. And so, and it was around this stuff like the heart, you know, the old ones. We're you know, we're bringing in the old ones, and the heartbeat of an alien machine, or whatever you said. And there was this whole thing that like Anthony Patch developed this whole like satanic, you know, Jordy Rose and all this.
Yeah.
And Kev reached out to Jordy Rose. Jordy Rose said he'd come on. And this is after Anthony Patch went away and did his own thing. And now Kev's about to interview Jordy Rose, and here comes Anthony Patch, man. You know, hey, Kev, man, let me on there. And Jordy Rose said, absolutely not. No Anthony Patch, just Kev Baker. And I got to say, you know, Kev took a lot of heat because, you know, he didn't go after Jordy Rose in a dirty way. Like, he didn't blindside him or hit him with some weird alternative media shit or whatever. You know, he handled it like a professional broadcaster, like he was, man, you know, and
yeah. But that's not Kev's personality to bring you on just to drag you around. I mean, he'll stand up for himself, of course, don't get me wrong, but to have somebody on just to shit on or fuck with him or fight with him or something, why? Kev had a million questions first before he wanted to fight with the guy. Like, I got this guy's going to talk to me about things. Like, talk to me about what you're working on. You're building robots now. You're like, what is that all about? You know, like, where are we going? You know, are you a good guy? Are you a bad guy? I mean, you know, there's a lot to unpack there. And Kev had a unique background that really sort of predisposed him to be the perfect person to actually talk to Jordy Rose about that, because of how much work you guys had done on these supernatural natural phenomena and quantum computers and space travel and all the weird stuff that I'm really into, but don't really particularly have much hardcore knowledge about. Kev knew, and he was the right guy to have that conversation with him.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I'll tell you, and you know, like I said, I spent a lot of time with Kev, and you know, he was kind of hurt that that video didn't get more views. In other words, it was because he didn't sensationalize it and go after him specifically about, you know, the beating of an alien heart and you know, conjuring the old ones and all this. And you know, what's interesting too is back then when we were talking about this and we were talking about quantum computing, for the most part, quantum computing at that point hadn't even really, I mean, it wasn't like they were imagining it for us at that time. It wasn't like they were, you know, there was a quantum internet somewhere and everybody's computers are all working quantum, you know. Right. It wasn't like that back then. I mean, who knows what it's like now? I mean, like we were saying with the AI situation that it is. I mean, at this point, you don't have.
That was at least 6 years ago. I first started talking to Kev. So, so I mean, in computing terms, that's a lifetime, right? So who knows what it is now?
Especially with, especially if it was already 50 years in advance of us 6 years ago. Doesn't it just keep? It's 50 years, then it's 150, then it's 250. Eventually, people are just invisible around you everywhere.
Right.
You're
exactly
not vibrating at the same frequency as the rest of everybody else now. You're over here, in the real world where you got to work for a living, Charlie. People are trying to make a living. Listen, let me ask you this question now. We haven't talked in a while. So now there was just an election on November 5th. And so it was a tough go all the way up to that election.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know how you feel about it. Because I'm saying there's been a lot of discussion all around the internet. There's been crazy talk, there's been wild, suppositions and, but I mean, the rubber is starting to meet the road. I mean, I brought it up on my show, Charlie. I said, because there's a lot of bad wind and bad attitudes, in relation to some of the things that have happened in the past with, President Trump. And so people don't want to give him the benefit of the doubt. So the show after the election, I said, listen, can't you just, for one moment, we're on a pink cloud right now. Okay. He's elected. Everybody's happy who voted for him. Everybody's, can we just take it at face value? Maybe when they tried to kill him, he had a moment with God, and now internally, Charlie, he's changed his ways.
Right.
Now he sees the light, and he's different now. And so he comes in there and he's going, I got RFK, he's going to head the, Food and Drug Administration. I got Ron Paul's coming in here with Elon Musk, and he's going to scour the earth, and I'm sitting here going, all right. And then here's my 12-point plan for dismantling the deep state. Blah, 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 blah. And then he's got this thing. This is what sucked me in, Charlie. It sucked me back in. He says, we're going to have a World's Fair here in America. And I went, wow, a World's Fair where they're going to introduce wireless energy technologies, Charlie, where everything will be free. And then the next day happened. I mean, it really wasn't even the next day. It was like, I looked at the 3 people he brought in there. Lupkin.
You're like, well, that's over.
Like Lupkin, the guy that you did a show about that lived next door to Epstein.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
right.
Howard Lutnick.
Yeah, Lutnick. Him, yeah. And then the wrestlers, Dynasty lady, whatever her name is, McMahon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Howard Lutnick is not only with the next door neighbors to Jeffrey Epstein, but he also started a child charity with Princess Fergie, which is in the UK, which was busted for trafficking children.
Get out of here.
What a fucking surprise, of course. The guy who ran Cantor Fitzgerald and happened to not be there when the Trade Center went down. But whatever.
Yeah. Well, Charlie, I mean...
that would make me a conspiracy theorist if I were to tie any of those loose ends up, wouldn't it? If I connected any of those rather obvious dots of all the people that had advanced knowledge of that event in New York City.
Well, I didn't want to suck you into the black hole of Trump, because really he's been there for 8 years and more now at this point. And there's so many things at this point. I mean, you can't even, we didn't even last a week. I mean, look at these appointments. Matt Gaetz.
Yeah.
And
everyone else is like hardcore Zionists that want to start World War III with Iran and rebuild Solomon's Temple and all this crazy shit. And you're like, you're supposed to be the Secretary of Defense, not the Secretary of Offense. You sound like a crazy person. That guy is like, he's on a rant about half the people. Mike Huckabee goes on a rant. He's the U.S. ambassador to Israel, goes on a rant about how Palestine doesn't exist, that there's no such thing as settlements and settlers. These are terms that don't exist. Gaza is a non-issue. It doesn't exist. And you're just like, what the like, I don't know if that guy is just an enthusiastic cheerleader because he's a Christian Zionist, or if they've got a picture of him with a goat or children or whatever. But that dude couldn't be any more of a ball licker for Israel if he tried, Mike Huckabee, and that's an embarrassment, man.
Well, you know, everybody seems to be stoked about these deportation ideas, these ideas of deportation and these camps and people being thrown into camps and thrown out of the country. You know, hey, if you say the wrong thing, because Trump said if you're an anti-Semite, he's coming after you, man. He's coming after you. You might be in that. You might be in the group getting thrown down in them camps, man.
Right. Be careful who, you know, you start wishing for camps. You don't get to control who goes in them, and you start advocating for the movement of large numbers of people, and that's the early stages of genocide when that happens, man. Because they don't go from point A to point B; they go from point A into a big cage, and then dunked in a lake somewhere and dumped in a pit. You know, I mean, the resettled in the East was a euphemism for you're going to get murdered when you get off this train. Wherever you go, you know, whether it's an actual concentration camp or whether you're just out in some pit in the Einsatzgruppe and they're going to whack you, you know. But whenever you move people around, nothing good comes from that. And I get that it's tempting for like the America First people that see all these illegals coming across the border and they go, we got to get them out of here. Look, I agree. The best case scenario would have been for them not to be here in the first place. But when it comes to removing them, you have to be very careful because
dude,
because you get the right to start cheerleading stuff like this and get Trump to do the dirty work for them. And history has shown that this ends very badly for those people, and then a bunch of innocent people who, you know, and it's one thing if you're like, oh, we're going to deport all the criminals. Okay, well, if you're going to deport all the criminals, I can understand that. But what if they're borderline? What if they're not criminals? What if they just look like a criminal? I get it if a guy's got MS-13 tattooed on his forehead, you know what he's all about. But what about these other people, right? So I don't know. It just I'm very hesitant to cheerlead for the state to get involved in anything.
No. Yeah.
You know?
No. And the thing is like I point this out quite often, you know, is martial law gets called, if you're wearing a MAGA hat, it's not going to mean anything. You're going to still, if you voted for Trump, you're still going to be under martial law. It won't matter. You know, and the thing is like when you start hearing certain kind of language, and then you start thinking about a person being in a position of power, almost like a dictator. You know, and, you know, to me, I mean, I'm just saying from a human perspective, you know, from a philosophical perspective, I would imagine that a real leader, what these things that have happened to him over these past years with all this persecution and everything that's happened, instead of trying to seek revenge and using the power to like go after and get those people, the real move would be to make sure that never happens to anyone ever again, because that's not the kind of country we live in. And instead of, you know, finding retribution against your enemies, to use that power to make sure that it never happens to anyone, including your enemies.
If you could find, because we all know Trump has a huge ego. If you could somehow convince him that the best move is to become remembered, even by your enemies, as somebody who was magnanimous in the face of, you know, when given the ability to go scorched earth on these people. But boy, man,
I don't want to get all Jesus on you, but isn't forgiveness like the thing? Forgiveness is the thing, man.
Powerful. To forgive somebody is a powerful. It's a power play, frankly. You know.
You know, we'll see what happens, Charlie. You know, there's so much coming up here on the holidays, and we're coming in, and the guy still has to get there.
Oh yeah.
So
but he's got a target. I mean, you know.
I mean, would you say that, I mean, on some level, on some level, these appointments are almost supreme trolling on a supreme level where it's inflaming. And now it's not bad enough that he's in there, but then look at who he's put. I mean, John Bolton said that what's her face? Tulsi Gabbard's never going to pass the security clearance because she's a
I'd
Russian.
put that on my resume if I were Tulsi. I'd be like, criticized by John Bolton, called the worst decision ever by John Bolton.
She's a Russian spy. And then
oh my God.
He said he could never have Matt Gaetz because he quote, I'm not saying this is what he said, that Matt Gaetz is a pedophile. And so Matt Gaetz is going to go after MSNBC for saying he was a pedophile when he's the attorney general.
There was an incident on an airplane on a private jet. We have a family connection to one of the people that was on the private jet who wound up doing some, who not a member of our family, but a family friend. Just somebody that we know who was on that jet who wound up going to prison.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't connected to anything having to do with underage girls. I don't know what that was. I don't know if that was a setup. I don't know.
Well, we do reverse speech on the show. Rock and Rio does. Been doing reverse speech, for, a decade or whatever. And then he was into it before that. But anyways, the point is we do it quite a bit. And we did a piece on that Matt Gaetz guy back a while back. And, from the reverse speech, the stuff that he said, it lined up with the accusations that were being made.
Really?
So so the stuff that was being said in reverse, and it had to do with Haitian people, Haitian immigrants.
Oh, interesting. The case I was talking about, there was some like 17-year-old girl that was on a flight with them. Nothing happened apparently, but they just made the allegation. I'm not saying Matt Gaetz isn't somebody who would do something like that. I don't know the guy. I'm sure I just assume they're all scumbag pedophiles, but I think in that particular case, it was a nothing burger. But the guy that that was involved in it was a guy who was trying to blackmail a politician in Tallahassee and wound up getting arrested and doing a couple years for it, trying to get zoning changed on a hotel and things like that, and sketchy shit, and wound up going to prison, like a federal prison for a while for that.
I don't know why people act like they're so shocked that we're living in a gangster's paradise or whatever. Everything's it's like the mafia just puts suits on and got degrees or what. Hey Bobby, you go to school. You come back when you got the degree. Yeah, you know what I mean. So we're in a situation right now, I think. So I heard a supposition by someone talking about the Trump presidency and the two potentialities between him and Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm.
And his assessment was that if Kamala Harris had been made president, that World War III would have started, almost immediately. But his supposition around the Trump presidency, based on what he's saying, and his name is, I'll think of it in a minute. Anyways, the point is that what he's saying in reference to Trump is that if he gets in, there's going to be like a 6-month period where everything is rosy and, everything looks good. And then after that is when things are going to turn dark. So coming up, I'm just saying, if you or your listeners, you come up and you see, like, for example, they're naming this Elon Musk Vivek partnership DOGE. Okay, the same as Elon Musk's favorite coin. Okay, Trump's all of a sudden on the Bitcoin train or whatever. He's all of a sudden digital currency man. So this may be potential. I don't give financial advice, but I'm just saying this may be, like, for example, I heard about some other coin, some other meme coin that came out, and it was like doggy coin, but it wasn't the same thing. It was something different, and it was like a couple pennies. It went up to $9. I'm just saying. Coming up, there may be a potential with what Elon Musk says. Somebody's going to be hurting too. They're going to be cutting stuff, and people are going to be hurting. But at the same time, there's going to be other people that are going to be making money when those people are hurting. You see what I mean?
Oh yeah. There's always there's always opportunities, especially in a changeover like this. The one thing I will say about the Trump coming in, and it's not necessarily like any sort of glowing recommendation for Trump, but it does appear that from a business standpoint, just in terms of like business environment, there's a little bit more business certainty with Trump. I know that everything surrounding him is kind of uncertain with people, he might get blown up tomorrow. You never know. But in terms of like regulations going away, opening up some oil and gas things, just common sense business practices, tax things like, changing some tax codes and just overall giving small and medium-sized businesses, and of course large businesses too, the confidence to know that they can plan for the future. I don't think people had any of that confidence in the Biden-Harris administration because you didn't know what you were going to do. I mean, you could very easily, reimagine your restaurant and build an outdoor patio because of COVID and spend $150,000 to build tarps and tables and heaters and do all that stuff so that you make inside outside so that you can stay open during a pandemic, and only to have the rules change on you again and then change on you again. And then OSHA's coming after you to try and put masks on everybody. And like, that is just so anti-business. And of course, the people in Biden's never built anything. He's a political asshole who spent his entire career sucking off the government, being a leech in Congress and then ultimately in the White House. So he's never built anything. He's a grifter. Kamala Harris has never earned anything in her life. Every accomplishment she has was given to her because of the color of her skin or her gender. She's a fucking retarded person, and it's obvious now to the rest of the world. So those people are anti common sense and everything else, but from a business standpoint, to just have a little bit of certainty that you can say, all right, well, I have to plan my marketing, a year in advance. I have to plan my expansions, 3 years in advance. Like if I'm going to expand my pizza place, well, I can't expand my pizza place if they're changing the minimum wage on me in California. If I get some rogue governor who's saying, well, yeah, the minimum wage normally is 16, but we're going to make it $20 an hour for fast food. Well, I'm going to close all my stores then. You know what I mean? So if that alone is a win, and if what your friend said is true, that World War III would have started immediately with Kamala and maybe 6 months later with Trump, well, then I guess that's a win too. But I'll tell you, based on who he staffed in his upper echelons of his administration, doesn't really set my mind at ease that there isn't going to be a war pretty soon. I mean, it looks like all those people have an erection lasting longer than 4 hours for Iran. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, there's going to be a war, dude. It's Mitchell Henderson was the guy. He's got a book on Amazon. He's got a book he wrote specifically for these times and these conditions. Like, he's got a whole bunch of survival shit in there. And I don't know the guy. I'm not trying to sell his book. I just heard him talk about some of the shit that's in the book.
Yeah.
So I haven't gotten it yet, but I'll take a look at it for sure.
Yeah.
But there's so many things going on, and you're right. And so I've been in the same position of what you're talking about, because for the last couple years, 2-3 years, I haven't known which direction to go in, because of course I don't want to have to go to a job. I want to have my own business. I want to do something, but I haven't wanted to step out and try to do anything because the future seems so uncertain.
Yeah.
And so with a conservative government coming in, that's typically good for business in general. Now, the day after the election, when I went through the mall to go to the store, all the restaurants in the mall were packed. So immediately people went out and started, at least where I live in my particular area, there's a lot of, I'm sure, conservative people. And so the restaurants were packed. So all of a sudden people were out spending money in restaurants, and so that's something they haven't been doing, because I drive through that parking lot every day to go to the store. You know what I mean? So I noticed it right away. So there's a sort of enthusiasm. That's the pink cloud that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
But, from our perspective, because we look a little deeper than what's on the surface. Most people, they get their news like where they're eating their mashed potatoes or whatever. and it's going by on the screen, and the kid is screaming and the dog's barking, and they didn't hear the whole thing, but hey, it must be something good. I don't know,
Right.
like that, but us, we look deeper. And so that's the thing, is we can't, we're not allowed to stay on the pink cloud too long. I think I got like 8 hours or whatever. I was happy. I was like, yeah, hey, the golden toad. I thought he was going to come in there and, steamroll the goblin's nest, like Alex Jones said the first time he got elected. If he was drunk, he's going the golden toad. He's going to go in the goblin's nest, but
So
any goblin on him.
Speaking of that, speaking of Alex Jones, as of the recording of this episode right now, today is the day that InfoWars changed hands to the Onion bought it. I remember when the Onion was funny. Then Babylon Bee took over, and then Babylon Bee was funny. But then Babylon Bee doesn't laugh at it if you make fun of anything having to do with Israel. They take that very seriously. They're suddenly not a satire site as soon as you start poking fun at Israel. But what do you make of the Onion buying InfoWars?
That's amazing. But the thing is he is now on the Alex Jones network. And so he's unencumbered by that whole apparatus. So I would say that for the most part, it's not a bad thing for Alex. It's going to be a good thing for him because he's got the viewership on his X channel is, literally, unbelievable. He's Rush Limbaugh. Okay. He's Rush. You know what I mean? Rush Limbaugh's dead. I mean, Alex Jones is the new sort of Rush Limbaugh, regardless of what you think.
He's got a voice. He's a lot of people, know who he is. He's syndicated, or at least he was for a while. And
I mean, what can you say? He built that, he did that whole thing. Look, dude, I've been around him since it was just him and Aaron Dykes over there making videos. That's how long I've been listening to him. You know what I mean? So, I've seen it come from where it was to where it is now. The kind of shit he's talking about now when he's on the air, the kind of money that he's making over there, it's crazy, man. I could dish on a whole thing, man, because I live in a town where a whole thing went down with some broadcasters from GCN making some statements that were considered anti-Semitic. And then Alex Jones got Mike Rivero thrown off of GCN.
You did?
Yeah. And
Mike Rivero was the first interview I ever did.
Okay, well, he got thrown off of GCN. He used to do a show every day at 3 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
He got thrown
from Hawaii.
And Alex Jones got him thrown off. And then he came to Santa Cruz because the radio station that the host that was interviewing Mike Rivero was here in Santa Cruz. And Alex Jones did something he never, ever does. He used to never go out in public, ever. Like, he wouldn't do an event. He'd be paranoid somebody's going to shoot him or whatever is what he would say. He came to Santa Cruz and did 2 shows. He sold them out right at the Coconut Grove in the boardwalk in Santa Cruz, and he sold them out and donated the money to the radio station. The radio station was owned by a dude named Michael Zwirling. Michael Zwirling is super tight with Dr. Wallach. Okay, and this is before Alex Jones had any vitamins at all. Then that year there was some radio event in New York, and Alex Jones was the keynote speaker or something. He said something at the podium or whatever, but he was sitting at the table with Michael Zwirling, because he owned a couple radio stations, independent guy, and Wallach. And then the next thing you know, he had Team InfoWars or whatever. So you going over there and you buy vitamins, you're going through him to the Wallach thing. And then eventually, now he has his own products.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it all started from that one thing with that Mike Rivero, the whole vitamin thing.
That's so funny because Tim James, who's the owner of Chemical Free Body, who's been a sponsor of my show forever, is talking about, I was on the phone with him one day talking about how he makes his products, and he's super anal about like chemicals. Obviously, the company's called Chemical Free Body. Like,
right.
Like down to like the t-shirts and everything. So he's talking about his formulator, his vitamin formulator. Mind you, I know nothing about this industry at all. I really don't. And he's saying, he goes, I've got the second best formulator in the game. And I was like, what? That's amazing. But like, I have to ask, who's the first best? He goes, Alex Jones, this guy. I was like, what? He's like, I'm telling you, the guy's the best. I was like,
it's crazy.
Oh shit. He's like, oh shit. And my business partner in Vegas, she had a medical issue that nothing could fix. It wasn't a major one, but it was something that was affecting her, and she'd been trying to fix it for a while. The only thing that worked was his I don't know if it's like Alpha Force, but for women or whatever. One of the things that he sells. Yeah. She's like, I took it, and ever since I've been taking it, I haven't had any issues with that thing ever. I forget what the issue was.
His products are top notch, man.
Yeah, I mean, I got to admit, like, I was a little surprised to hear that. I kind of half expected it to be filled with sawdust. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know, man. The thing is, he is what he is, and unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, he is like, he's like the main voice of the alternative media. I mean, everybody else, lots of people got into this because of him. In other words, he's like, he used to be on there, I'm getting the word out or whatever. Everybody be like running around passing out CDs. 9/11 was an inside job and all this.
Right.
I mean, this has been going on for a really, really long time. And I mean, I don't know, man. It's just, what can you say? There's nothing you can really say. There he is, man. He is, therefore he is. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it.
I've never met him, but I did when I was in Austin last summer for the American Liberty Awards. I went to Barton Creek, the river, on the following day, the Sunday afternoon, with Nick Natelli. He's the rapper who did like Fuck Target or Boycott Target. He had like a #1 song. But I went with Nick. I went with Eric Hollerbach, who does Klaus Schwab Jr. And the three of us met up with all the InfoWars guys there. Owen and Dan Lyman and Harrison and Rob Dew. And they're the nicest guys around. Like I honestly I can't say enough nice things about it. Just really down to earth, super polite and nice, no attitude or anything. They had a big InfoWars flag planted there, and people were coming up the whole time like, fuck yeah, InfoWars. Like, they loved them there.
Yeah.
And I was, so I was impressed with the guys. I thought that, I mean, at least for what it's worth, the guys are, his team were super nice, and Tony Arburn's known Owen for a long time, sponsors his show, has nothing but good things to say about him. I've known Rob Dew for a while. He's fantastic. Smoked a joint with him at Barton Creek, which is fun.
Well, listen, I mean, since we started doing this, the landscape has definitely changed, and it's not, I mean, there's a podcast about everything now. Pretty much everybody's got a podcast. I mean, I was listening to some classic rock station this morning.
Yeah.
He was playing some piece of some football player dude whose brother cut a single with Stevie Nicks, and it's on #1 on the Christmas list now. What I was tripping on was like, this fucking football player's got a podcast now. It's like,
oh yeah,
everybody's got a podcast.
Yeah,
and it tripped me out because the other night when Trump got elected, there was some really wild videos. Okay, and I had this one video of this woman, man, dude. I swear you couldn't hire an actor. I mean, if she was acting, she would have got an Academy Award for that. She was so insane, dude. It's indescribable. I'll have to send you the video just so you could see it.
Was she an anti-Trump person who was freaking out because he won, or was she a pro-Trump person that was happy?
Honestly, I don't know what she was freaking out about. I was just amazed at her body language, her facial expressions, what she was saying. There was moments where she would sit there and go like this with her hand and just like look into the air. it was literally, I mean, dude, we're living in an open air insane asylum. I got people bent over at the waist, hanging down while I'm driving to work. You know, people are talking to themselves with their hands in the air. Everybody's been, you know, looking for a moment on their cell phones. You know, it's like action, boop. People do something and then boom, as soon as it stops, everybody drops, you know, and there's no action. Everybody's dead. It's like people walking around, Charlie, what should I, you know, so.
They've enslaved us with devices, you know?
I know, you know,
synthetic drugs and mainstream media. It's poison. We're under constant mind control attack by these people.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's even worse because we're under cognitive warfare, and that's even worse than mind control. Mind control is only as you know, one of the aspects of cognitive warfare. You know, and so I mean, we're literally psychologically could be put into a niche where you don't ever get out of it. Just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, Charlie, back and forth, back and forth. And it's an invisible thing. You can't see it. You can't smell it, can't taste it, can't touch it. It's something that's developed into your brain, into your thinking, into your, the way that, you know, your brain is functioning. It stays in this one place. It's absolutely amazing.
I had a conversation with Ilana Freeland a while ago, talking about the space fence and things like that. First of all, it was back when I had a YouTube channel, and that was the fastest video that I've ever had removed by YouTube. I had a David Icke video that I think it got removed after a day or something. I think the Ilana Freeland got removed after like 4 hours. And I was like, wow, I mean, I wonder why they don't want us talking about that. I mean, if we're all just, you know, lunatics howling at the moon and talking about nonsensical things, then why not let us talk about this potential space fence that's out there and what it's all about? But it actually sort of Streisand affected it for me a little bit more, because once I saw how fast YouTube took it down, I thought, well, there must be some there if they don't want us talking about that. You know, something going on.
Yeah.
Beamed with mind control brain waves, or being put into a state of mind where you just don't really care one way or the other about things. Have you noticed that like people are hard to like communicate with? Like that there's some people out there that you used to be able to have a conversation with, but they're very different now. I've been noticing that with a couple people close to my orbit, and it's noticeable. I'm just wondering, are you noticing that too?
Yeah, I'm noticing that there's a lot of explaining that has to be done all of a sudden. Like you used to just say, you know, something in a sentence, and the other person would understand what you meant, you know. But now you got to sit there and go, you know, you got to give them 9. You know, they ask you what time it is. You got to tell them how the watch was made. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because maybe it's because of this phenomenon with the podcasting. You know, maybe people have just gotten used to like sitting there and wait. You know, they need more information from you or something. I don't know what it is. You know what I mean? It's like,
do you think it's vaccine damage? Do you think that the vaccines have disconnected people from higher function or a higher source or something? Because I've noticed some people.
I wouldn't even have to get weird. I can just look straight at the psychological damage that was done during the Michelle Pfeiffer incident, where people were housed and, you know, in their homes and had to deal with all these measures and all this stuff. Those all had a psychological effect on us, you know. I mean, I did countless shows. I did a show about a guy who was in solitary confinement, went into solitary confinement voluntarily to see what it was like, you know. And so the effects of that, like the first 90 days of that, retrained everybody. It takes 90 days to break a habit. Like you want to quit smoking, you know, it's going to take 90 days, you know. You change in 90 days. So 90 days people were literally changed forever. You can't you gotta, in order for you to undo that, you gotta do something to undo it for 90 days, which no one's gonna do because they're not aware that they've been changed. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, it reminds me of Yuri Bezmenov's The 4 Steps of Ideological Subversion. I mean, you get people, you get that third step is initiate a crisis, and the crisis has to last at least 6 weeks. And after that, then the last step is normalization. It's like, we've always done this. It's always been this way. This is the way it is. This is the normal way. And you can get, after you put them through that psychological trauma, you can then reimagine what the past was and say, no, we've always done this. I mean, it gets into a lot of feels a bit like 1984. We've always been at war with Eurasia and Oceania. And, it's just like, you can tell people, for some people you can tell them constantly, ridiculous notions and eventually get them to believe it. And I just did it. I was doing work on some of the psychological warfare programs. They put people like Stanford prison experiment and the Milgram, and you get to a point where you go, these people know how we tick. They know what makes us go. They know how to manipulate not everybody, right? Because they found that, but if you can get 70% of the population to act like lunatics, like they did in the Milgram experiment, to shock the guy in the next room until he's dead, then at that point, you don't need the other 30%, fine, it'd be great if you got them, but 70% falling for the bullshit, that's enough to remake society.
Yeah. Well, society has been remade. We're not living in the same
noticing.
world. No, I mean, seriously, we're not living in the same world we were 3 years ago. And so the thing is like, one of the, go and you don't, I know.
I'm
I don't in May.
the
Bucks I'm paying $10
again.
That's what there should be
All cigarettes.
Bruh, you know. Thank
seeing a hammer. I after self
Allow it. I don't want because the oh. Dude. It's you start no and and
fight.
they're
100.
this
He's not.
that hey, doctors, some how
Listen. Yeah. Through I Bill. And I Medicare. Took 6 these so that you know is what's the best is all be like flex prices better in
outing. With whatever, but that is think fine, but
see she's like we know
themselves. People that know brings this. Our but yeah. This man
row you'd give there's nothing more important. Help. But like music and stuff ran it and stuff right now. Boom. Shit. Day you're getting try you can to be an come out of your can alter, you know, I can't because they're Donald Trump 2 seconds detail. And I
what for me.
my
Dude. Happen.
I came in went to dumb.
Did you?
Yeah. So play
Dot.
I
Two.
got to
And you. Liberty. Get into. In it.
so I got big plan. Jimmy never show F that on Instagram.